All right, here we go. We have Miami street legend Convertible Burt in the building.
That'll be me. That's right.
Hey man, listen, I've been hearing about you for so many years.
Yeah.
It's an honor to finally sit down and actually talk.
Hey man, on this mind, man.
Okay, so this is your first time here with us. Let's go ahead and start in the very beginning. So you grew up in Liberty City.
Yeah, Liberty City is where I'm on 15th Avenue. And then, I grew up on 15th Avenue, and then when I turned about 12 or something, about 12, we moved to like a project called Graveyard, a PJ project in Miami called the Graveyard.
Okay, so did you grow up with both parents, one parent?
Oh, one parent, you know what I'm saying? My mama did it all. Yeah,
Okay, and where's your father during this time?
he's a Rolling Stone. You know what I said? Moving around. Yeah,
Okay,
my father's a he's a mover and shaker.
okay, did you know him at all or not
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah. I know him. As I got a little older, and I started making moves and stuff like that, we kind of got close. But then, right, right when we was really, really, building a real strong bond, I went to the feds. I got knocked off. I got knocked out in Atlanta. And I went to the feds, and he kind of died like a couple of years later.
Gotcha. And we're going to go into that whole story a little bit later, but I just kind of want to lay the foundation of how you grew up.
Right.
So, you had a single mother. How many brothers and sisters?
I got 5 brothers and sisters from my mother. Yeah, I have 3 brothers and 1 sister. I'm the baby boy.
Okay, so here you got 5 kids and a single mother
Right.
growing up in the projects.
Right.
What do you think was the hardest thing, like as a kid, that you went through?
Really, really, I grow. When I first started doing things, it was like really kind of hard because I grew up on 15th Avenue. That was like one of the main drug strips in the country at that time in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up around there. So when I started getting into it, you know what I'm saying? It was like everything environmental. You know what I'm saying? I didn't choose the game chose me. Coming up, just being around that environment and being exposed to so much at a very young age.
I mean, do you remember when crack first hit your neighborhood?
Oh yeah, man! In the early like mid 70s. You know what I'm saying? I remember the first guy that ever did it. Brought really it wasn't crack at first. It was they used to freebase. It used to be a rich man high. And he brought it from California, and a dude named was McBride. He passed on, but was a major player back in the days, and he brought that game to Miami. Yeah, ain't nobody know about it before McBride. You know what I'm saying? So he pretty much introduced, Miami to it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, and you have a lot of different street drugs, but crack has a very kind of unique effect
Right,
on
right,
people. You
right.
know, you don't become a crackhead in the first couple of weeks. It
No,
sort of takes time of you
right,
using over and over again, but as
right,
you become more and more addicted,
right.
it really starts to destroy the whole neighborhood.
Right, right, right. But crack is something, it's like after you try it one time, you know what I'm saying, you're always chasing the same you're chasing that high that you got the first time but you never catch again. And that's how you become a crack addict pretty much.
Okay, so at what point did you start getting into the streets?
You ain't gonna believe this, man. I was introduced to the streets at a very young age. You know what I'm saying? I was actually in elementary school. You know what I'm saying? 10, 11, 12 years old. 10, 11, 12 years old. And what I used to do, you know what I'm saying, when I come home from school, you know what I'm saying, I used to look out. You know what I'm saying? I used to look out for the guys, who was hustling in the street.
Okay, so you got hired as a lookout.
Yeah, really, I was a kid. You really, it was just they way of looking out for me. When I come in school, when the police come or whatever, I tell them the police coming or whatever. And that's how that pretty much started. So I was introduced to a lot, exposed to a lot at a very young age.
Okay, well, at what point did it go from being a lookout to actually moving it around?
Uh, Really, you know what I'm saying? That's also at a very young age, because I start, like I said, when we moved over moved in the project, they was, we was hustling around there, and that's where we really, That's where I really started, hustling weed and stuff like that. And then, gradually as you go along, you go up, I went through the ranks. You know what I'm saying? I went through the ranks, you know what I'm saying? Everything I did, you know what I'm saying? I came from the bottom up with it. Yeah.
Okay, and a lot of losses go with that game.
Yeah. Well, I took the biggest loss because I did a long time in prison, federal prison. So that's the
Okay.
biggest loss, you know what I'm saying, when you lose life for such a long period of time and you lose like the most important people in your life, you know what I mean? Like my father, I lost my father and my mother while I was down. So that was a blow to me, you know what I'm saying, that you had to really be strong and pull through.
So you start hustling in the street. You start off with weed, and you start
Yeah.
moving up to
Yeah.
crack.
Yeah.
But something serious happened in the ninth grade.
Oh yeah, well, I got in trouble. You know what I'm saying? I was at the youth fair. You know what I'm saying? And I caught a murder charge. A manslaughter charge. You know what I'm saying, at the youth fair. But I was a promising athlete. You know what I'm saying? I was an All-American wrestler. All American wrestler. I was a prize athlete at the time. And I was going to Edison High School. I had just got there and wind up catching a manslaughter charge, and then they kicked me out of all day county schools for a year. And my wrestling coach, Mitch Gertis and Pat Burns, they wind up going to start coaching at American High, and that's like way out in another part of the city. So you know what I'm saying? I started going. I went back. I went back. After a year, I did a year in MacArthur. That's like a school for discipline. Like they kick all the bad kids go to, like when they get in trouble in regular school. So I stayed there for a year, and then I wound up going to American High.
Okay, can you talk about the manslaughter charge?
Yeah, well, it was at a youth fair, you know what I'm saying, and at that time, you know what I'm saying, it was a conflict with me and another individual, you know what I'm saying. He had a change, I had a pocket knife at that time, and the altercation started by a little argument, you know what I'm saying, about a ride or something like that, and we got into it, and and that's how it happened.
Okay, so you end up stabbing him.
Yeah.
Okay, and how much time did you get for that once you were convicted?
Really, I stayed in the youth center probably about 3 months, and I winded up getting out like on a mother's mother's custody, and I wound up beating the case.
Oh, so it was self-defense.
Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you feel like when that situation happened and the adrenaline comes down and you realize that this guy's dead right in front of you?
Well, you never want to see. I never wanted it to turn out to that. You know what I mean? Because it was just an altercation, and you know what I mean, and then it happened. So spontaneously. You know what I'm saying? You never want to see nobody lose a life. You know what I'm saying? But things happen. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunate. It was him. Instead of me. It could have been me. And but like I said, you never want to see an individual lose their life. Because that's something you could never get back. And that's what I don't understand about these little kids now. They're just going around doing a lot of crazy stuff, you know what I'm saying, for no reason.
And you said he had a chain?
Yeah, he had a change. We get into a little altercation. I had a knife, you know what I'm saying. So, we get into a little fight, a little struggle, a little tussle. And, that's what happened.
Okay. So you get into that whole situation, and
Right.
then you finish off your high school,
Right.
and then you graduate, and I guess you had a full ride to go to Ohio, but you
Yeah.
decided not to go.
Yeah, I had a full ride to go to University of Ohio on a wrestling scholarship, and I got caught up in the street, like a lot of good athletes, you know what I'm saying. The street grab you, you know what I mean, and and I got caught up in the street. I chose the streets instead of college.
Now, who was Isaac Ike Hicks?
Isaac Higg is one of the biggest boys that come out of Miami, drug lords that come out of Miami, and he passed on, you know what I'm saying, while he was in prison, but a real great man.
Okay, and what was your connection to him?
Well, when I was a kid, you know what I'm saying, like I said, I was a lookout, you know what I'm saying, and I was still in school, so, uh, back in the days, you know what I'm saying, he had one of the biggest, operations going. And I was a lookout for him, when I first started out. Kid, still in school. You know what I'm saying? And what happened was, he was a good man, and he had an organization back then. I just came through the ranks with him, and that's how, everybody that really came up under Isaac Higgs really went to a whole nother level. Mostly all the guys that worked up under him, off the tree that off his tree, really did great things. Went on to do great things in the streets.
Okay, so who are the Miami boys?
Well, the Miami boys originally started with me and a couple of guys that started going on the road. Started going on the road. I'm original Miami boy, and some other guys that really come up off that umbrella too, came off that tree too. That's really started the Miami boys and started going to different parts of the United States. Getting money, and that's how we started to form the Miami Yo Boy. So we got a different swag in Miami. So whenever we go somewhere, they were so fascinated with us, and they pretty much gave us that name, the Miami Boy.
Okay, and you guys were also called the Untouchables.
No, that was the Untouchables is one of my little homeboys. Oop, you know what I'm saying? That's a whole different story, though. Yeah.
So you guys have this crew,
Yeah.
the Miami Boys,
Right.
and Miami's kind of a hub for the drug trade.
At that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw
Was
like
the hub at that
cocaine
time.
cowboys.
Right. Was the hub at that time. You're right.
Okay, so all the cocaine from South America was all being dropped off through Miami and being distributed to the rest of the country.
Yeah, at that time, no.
Describe that time to me, because at that point I feel like the U.S. didn't exactly understand what was going on, and they were
Right.
still trying to play catch up, and
Right.
billions of dollars were running through the city.
Right. Well, to be honest with you, you know what I said at that time, you know what I'm saying? Miami was built from that. The pretty city you see now come from that. You know what I'm saying? That come from that. And at that time, of course they didn't have the technology they have now. You know what I'm saying? So, I like to say they were 15, 20, 30 years behind at that time. And, and things were running, and it was more money on the street at that time. There was more money on the street at that time than probably you'll ever see. Them times there, you'll never see again because, we're in a different time. Technology and all that stuff there, and everything don't tighten down with the borders and stuff like that. So them days there, you probably never see again.
Okay, so when you were first starting, was Ike Hicks, was that your plug?
No, I started out with him. But he also, at that time, you know what I'm saying, he was doing numbers, So yeah, if I needed something, I could go to him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I could say that. You know what I'm saying? But as you go along, up other things, up opportunities, other roads open up for you. So I would start doing all kind of other things. But he's basically like a start off kit. Like he started me off.
Okay, did you eventually get like a Colombian plug or another?
Yeah,
South
that's what I'm
American
saying.
plug?
At the time, in them times there, it was Colombians and Cubans. That down on our end that was really had all the work.
Okay, and Pablo Escobar was the main Colombian.
Ain't no question
during that
about
time.
it. Ain't no question about it.
So were you dealing with Pablo Escobar's crew?
Yeah, with some of the people back then, you know what I'm saying? Like he had the Queen, a Blanca, and stuff like that. We was doing different things, like now, I keep in contact with his, her son now, Michael Corleone,
Aha.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were dealing with Griselda.
Yeah, in a direct work. See, you got to understand back then, you know what I'm saying, all the work that they come, pretty much all the work was coming through them, was from them. So, one way or another, where you were connected with them because, they had mostly all the work back then.
Right. Well, the Colombians kind of had a reputation for being kind of upset if you didn't get their money.
Oh yeah, well that a whole lot of people get upset if you don't get their money, but they was pretty much about that, getting their money, you couldn't take nothing from them. You know, a lot of them. You know.
Well, right. I mean, Escobar was killing politicians back in
Right.
Colombia.
Right.
Like
Right.
the level that he was doing it at, I don't think the world had ever seen before.
Right. Right. But that's what I was explaining to you. That's what I was explaining to you at the beginning of the tape. But because then, you know what I'm saying, they didn't have the technology and all that, you know, that they got now. You know what I mean? So things was a little bit more open, to do, open to the favor, Escobar back then.
I mean, what was the craziest thing that you saw or heard about when a drug deal went bad during that era? When dealing with Escobar's people or whoever else.
Well, when they was at the Dayland Mall, was it the Dayland Mall where the big shoe went? And that was Grishilla. That was the Dayland. I think that was Dayland Mall with the big shooting there. It was all on the TV and everything, and they did a documentary about it, Cocaine Cowboy. Yeah, that was one of the biggest crazy things I seen. A lot of people got killed. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, back in the days in the '80s. You know.
Okay, so you're starting to build up and starting to get bigger plugs.
Right.
Like how big was your operation at its height?
Well, I was my operation was big. I was making 50, 30, 50, 30, 40, 50,000, 100,000 a day. So it was at a time, you know what I'm saying, when I was at my prime. So I had some real success with this, you know what I'm saying, back in the days when I was younger.
I've interviewed a lot of kingpins
Right.
on Vlad TV. Like Lil D,
Yeah.
Ricky Ross is
Yeah.
Freeway Ricky is a regular guest.
Yeah.
And each of them had different ways of doing it. So
Right.
like Freeway Ricky had like just a big number of crack houses that
Right.
he was controlling. By 24 years old, you were a kingpin. You were moving 100 kilos a day. You had a dozen crack houses that were making $40,000 in profit a day. And you had a network of dealers that were moving 500,000 crack rocks a day. When you look at these types of numbers, and this is all, you've laid all this out in your book, it is a staggering amount of drugs. I mean, 500,000 rocks a day. Like, when you look at that right now, how do you even come to grips with it?
I don't know. It's like, that was just something I stumbled up on. It was only when I really got in prison that I really understood the magnitude.
Right.
Whereas other guys were just moving kilos and didn't really want to deal with the street level stuff.
Right,
Like,
right.
how were you running your operation at the time?
Well, to be honest with you, I started out as, I was like Ricky. You know what I'm saying? I had traps, what they call traps. You know what I mean? I had spots, and then as you go along, you know what I'm saying? You kind of like, go to another level with it, and you start selling weight and different things like that. But Ricky's a smart guy. You know what I'm saying? The traps is a little bit more safer because it's a little bit more low key because you're not really out there. A deal when you start dealing with weight and hand to hand with the weight stuff like that. Things could go bad real fast.
Did you have any drug deals that went bad?
Nah, I always been a smooth criminal. You know what I'm saying? And I always tried to kind of like scout. Kind of like stake things out before I move. But I had a bad deal when I got knocked off because I wound up getting jammed up.
Well, along with the rise of the D-boys was the Jack boys.
Yeah.
The people that would, who didn't feel like dealing drugs, they would rather rob the drug dealers.
Exactly.
So was this going on around you?
Oh yeah. You got to understand, right? I came up with the Shower Posse and all them, and the Jamaican the robbers of the Jamaicans and all that. I came up in that area. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like this. It's just like the jungle, like in the jungle. Predators respect predators. You know what I'm saying? And if you're soft, you know what I'm saying. You're gonna have problems. But it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. So a lot of times, guys, you might have guys that does that, but they know if they looking for easy licks. If it's gonna be a problem, there's gonna be some repercussion or whatever. You know what I'm saying? If they don't kill you, you know what I'm saying? They know they're gonna have to. You know, they know that the consequences that come with that. So you know, I always had a mean touch crew. So you know, I always had them on deck. You know what I'm saying?
Along with crack and more money came the
Yeah,
level of ammunition started to
yeah,
rise up because
yeah. Well, you got
originally it was revolvers and
right,
9 millimeters. Then you had the AK-47s and
right.
the Uzis and everything.
Yeah, well, I was always big on that. You know, when it comes to protecting your investment. You know what I'm saying? You know, I always felt that that was the number one uh, uh, security device you have to put in play before you can even really get in there. So you know, I was always big, and then at that time, you know, I was a real gun freak. You know what I'm saying? I was really into the guns, all the latest, all the latest, that come out. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I was always into that. So that's where the really Miami boys, because we, at the Miami boys, wherever we went at, you know what I'm saying, we put down,
I mean, were you getting to shootouts during that time?
Yeah, that come with the game. You got to understand that come with the game because you got to understand when you get money, you're gonna have somebody that try it, or when you in some kind of situation where you getting money, or you got spots and stuff like that. You know, you got to protect your investment, and that's where that come in. But that in this game here, that's not good business because you really don't want to, get money. You really don't want no bodies or no shootings or nothing like that because that's bad for business. So you want to really, any smart businessman, he really want to get from that unless, you know what I'm saying, he's got no way out. But you really want to stay from that because that's bad for business.
Okay, you yourself ever got shot?
Yeah, I've been shot 2 different times.
Can you talk about those 2 instances?
Oh yeah, well one time, I got shot in a village, and then I got shot in a place called the Baha's. 2 different times. And that come with the game.
Okay, so the first time you got shot, what happened
That
exactly?
was in the village. Really, it was just animosity. Because I was a really raw little guy. I was a really, really flamboyant little guy. So it's, the hate come with that. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be real careful. And a lot of times you don't really pay attention when you having things your way to threats and enemies. You know what I'm saying? Because you having the time, you living your best life, and you're not, you don't think you could, harm could come to you. But the pettiest little thing, you can lose your life for it. And it don't be because you did something, anything. It becomes a part of the hate that come with success.
Okay, so where'd you get shot the first time?
What you mean? In the village,
Well, no, what part of your body did you get
on the
shot at?
leg, both times. One time in the thigh, and one time like in the knee area.
Okay, so the first time you got shot,
Yeah.
did that make you move different and start looking at everything differently?
Yeah, it changed your train of thought because now you have to be conscious, and that took me, having that awareness, you know what I'm saying, really saved my life a lot of times because that really woke me up. But you got to understand, I was a kid when I was doing all that. When I was doing all that, I'm the first guy down here, you know what I'm saying, that had Rolls Royces, chop tops, all that. I'm a part of the rap culture. The whole rap culture is a blueprint that I laid down, that I put on training wheels that they could really, duplicate and do. So when you see the jewels and, I'm the one made riding convertibles cool. They ain't really know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? California, I ain't gonna never say California, but a lot of parts of the United States really didn't know nothing. I really put that on the forefront, you know what I'm saying? Because, ain't nobody played them like me. You know what I'm saying? I'm the convertible Don.
Now, how did you get the name Convertible Burt? How did that come together?
From convertibles, you know what I'm saying? It's something about a convertible that give you that freedom to me. It just, when you let the down the top, it's you can see the sky. And it just gives you that freedom, man. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of this rap culture, you know what I'm saying, they wasn't even rapping about convertibles until, I put that into play. The Convertible Burt name, brand came into play, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean when I moved to LA, I got a convertible, like a red convertible Maserati, like
Right.
a peanut butter interior, and
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
drop that top,
yeah.
something about it, just the world opens up to
Yeah, the
you. I
world
know what
open
you
up.
mean.
And to give you a sense of freedom,
Yeah.
give you that, it's just something about it. So I was all, from a kid, I was always fascinated, you know what I'm saying? I had a fetish for convertible, you know what I'm saying? And, I challenge anybody, can't nobody put a car together like me yet. I haven't did none yet because I'm going through a little thing with the system right now. But after that, I'm going to start putting them together. And I'm going to challenge anybody to put one together like I do.
Okay, so how big was your car collection at one point?
Well, at the time, you know what I'm saying. I had, I was a car man, so I had like 10 cars at one time. You know what I'm saying? Convertible, different antiques and stuff. Like, I always been into cars. Yeah,
Okay, so can you name those 10 cars?
yeah. I had a, I had the Rolls Royce. You know what I'm saying? In the game, the trues and Vols. I had the chop top. I had the 560 convertible. Convertible. They don't even make these convertible. Sent out to California chop. I had a top chop and all that there, 560. I had the stretch limousine. I'm in the 560 stretch, looked like limousine with the curtains in it. I had a Delta 88. That's the original car that made me famous. There, the Delta 88 convertible, and I had the Common Gee. I had the Cadillac. I had the lowrider truck, the Bronco. How many is that? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? The Monster, when the Monster convertible just freight the X7 first came out. So I had a fleet of cars.
Okay, but you got known for the Oldsmobile Delta 88
Yeah, well, that's
convertible.
what really made me really put me on the map. You know what I'm saying? Because back then, you know what I'm saying, when when we was riding them, ain't too many people really know none of. They weren't really into verts like that. I'm a part of that dunk culture. All that come from me. A lot of that come from me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so the big giant wheels and the
Nah,
convertible.
not that because we never did that. That's like they put the big rims on there, not the giant. I'm talking about like the Chevys and you know what I'm saying like that. That's put in the game. They put like the 22, 23s on there. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
That's what they doing with now. You know what I'm saying? But that whole culture, like doing the engine and all that stuff there, all that come from me. That's part of what I created. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, the first time you got shot, you were how old?
I want to say about 18. I
Okay.
got shot, yeah, 18, something like that.
How old were you when you got shot the second time?
Probably about 20, a couple of years, a couple of years
Okay.
later.
So tell me about the situation around the second time you got shot.
Really, it was a night before my birthday, and it was it was like I said, I hope I never really had no problems with individuals too tough. All mine come from like hate crimes, dealing with women and stuff like that. So you know what I'm saying? That's pretty much my situation there. You know what I mean? It wasn't never like, you know what I'm saying, no problem like I'm having a problem. All mine always come from hate crimes, like really, it ain't really. It's an incident that really ain't, you don't. It's just happened. It ain't nothing that's, you know what I'm saying, that like I had beef or I had I had pressure like in the street or something. I ain't never got shot like that.
Okay, so the two guys that shot you, did you ever find out who they were, or did anything ever happen afterwards?
Yeah, I don't. From what I know, you know what I'm saying. They no longer with us. That's all I know.
Well, there you go.
That's all I know.
You
That's what
know.
one of them killed themselves that I know about, and I don't know if the other one with us or not.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have actions and reactions.
Yeah. Well, one of them killed himself. So
Okay. So here you are. You're building up,
yeah.
and you got your plugs, and now you're starting to move out of Miami and start
Right,
going state to state.
right. Different state.
Okay. And what cities were you primarily focusing on during that time?
I was in Orlando. You know what I'm saying? I was in Orlando. I was I don't been in Atlanta, different spots. You know what I'm saying? Different spots. Different little towns you hit. Where money's at. You know what I'm saying? You got to try to find a treasure. You know. So I've been
Okay.
around a few different states. You know what I'm saying? Moving around.
So describe to me the process of here's this this young man from Miami. He goes into a totally different city.
Right.
How do you really get plugged into what's going on over there? Because people are making money over there themselves, and people get protective.
Right. But you got to understand, uh, back then, it's a different in getting money and getting organized money. You see what I'm saying? So, coming up with through the ranks of the great Isaac Higgs and stuff like that, they was more like on being organized. So when you go to a spot and you organize, you even though guys there might be there and getting money, you got a leg up on them because they not that advanced. For us with putting the organization down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you have different cities, and the Miami
Right.
boys are starting to set up shop
Right.
in different places.
Right.
Okay. So you had about a 5-year run?
Yeah. Yeah, I had about a 5-year run, you know what I mean? Really, actually, you know what I'm saying? I never really did the math on that. Yeah, I just say I had a 5-year run.
Okay. At your height, how much money do you think that you were sitting on altogether?
Well, at that time now, you know what I'm saying? I touched millions and millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? They come fast, and you spend it. It's so much money. It's hard for me to really put a number on it because you're handling a lot of money. I'm buying all the fly stuff, and like back then when I was young, man. I brought the world heavyweight champion Mike Tyson down here. So I was doing big things, man. Going to Vegas, doing different things. So I was getting so much money, man. It's really hard to put a number because I got so much coming in, going out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm working with. I'm handling millions and millions of dollars.
Okay. I mean, apart from the cars, what do you think was your most extravagant, purchases?
Yeah, jewelry and cars. I had $1 million. I had like $1 million in jewelry and stuff like that. Like I was trying to explain to you before. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the major guys were getting money. You know what I'm saying? It was me, and I got this. See, I came up around hustlers, players. You know what I'm saying? Hustlers and players. You know what I'm saying? And pimp. So the flavor, you know what I'm saying, and the swag, I always been around that. So I said that to say this here. The jewelry and stuff like that. That's what I was telling you. You spend so much money in jewelry. To me, I use every event. I use a theme for every event. I got a different theme. So it cost me a lot of money, to stay up. You know what I'm saying, and to stay to the latest fashion, the latest wear and there. So you handling so much money. You got so much money going out and coming in. And things going so fast. A lot of stuff. Like I never really counted how many cars I had. I never really took pictures of that kind of stuff because I always thought, the people might come and get all of, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of that stuff, you know what I'm saying, I never documented, you know what I'm saying? I got money here, I got money there, you know what I'm saying? You really don't start thinking about that until it all come down. Then you start thinking because everything going so fast.
So you're starting to build up, and
Right.
you're moving kilos. Do you remember
Right.
how much your biggest single kilo pickup was?
Yeah, well, it's you got different times where you get 100 here, 100 there, you know what I'm saying, 200, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that, you know what I mean, and you want to keep it where you could move it, you know what I'm saying, you can move it and you don't really want to run up a tab too big where you can't pay it, you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
So you might get 200, 300, 400, 500, you know what I'm saying, something like that, moving around, back and in, you know what I'm saying, and like I said, when you do the math, you know what I'm saying, a lot of that money go out. So you moving around and by the quickest go out and come in, you know what I'm saying, you take losses, all that. So, I really never, I had money everywhere, at a time,
Okay. So you were saying you were getting up to 500 kilos at a time?
Yeah, back in the days, back in the days, you get a screen here, screen there, because you're going different places, you know what I'm saying, and you moving them different ways, you know what I'm saying, and then you got other partners that, that I'm linked up with, they doing their thing, we doing our separate thing.
Well, you're building up, and you're making millions of dollars,
Yeah.
and you got all the jewelry and all the cars,
Yeah.
you're hanging with Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
But in the back of your mind, you're realizing that all this is illegal.
Right.
And do you start to see people around you get busted?
Yeah, well, anytime, you know what I'm saying, anytime you're into that environment, it's going to always be somebody that get pinched or get busted, you know what I'm saying? And, in the back of your mind, you don't never think it's you. Because like I was explaining to you, things go so fast at a time, you know what I'm saying? You never thinking about that, you know what I'm saying? You never think, it's just like you could know something going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of like put it on the back burner. It's unavoidable. You know what I'm saying? It's no way you can really avoid that. And you got guys that beat the odds, but them millions and one odds. Ain't too many. Beating them odds. But you got guys that never had no problem. They get away.
Okay. Now, leading up to 1991,
Yeah.
you have a child at this point, right?
I got kids at that point. Like I was saying, I was moving real fast. I got at that time at 91 when I got knocked out, I had like 5 kids.
Okay. Well, what are the ages of the kids at that point?
5. They like babies. 5, 3, 2, 1.
So here you are. You're touching millions of dollars. You have 5 kids.
Right.
Do you start to think, maybe I could just take this money, put it into some legitimate businesses, some car washes, some apartment complexes, something, and just walk away from it, and give my plug to someone else for a dollar amount, and then just ride off into the sunset?
Right, but at the time, you know what I'm saying, I was right before I got caught up. I was in the transition of making that move. I had a record back then. I just had started a record right before I got locked up. I had a record company. Me, Clay D, Beatmaster Clay D, and Raheem. We had did a song, "Shake Them Titties." So I was in the midst of doing stuff like that, and I had a store. I had property. But like I said, when things, when it all come down, and you have to get, you got to get different things. You got to get the way you have to move back then. You really don't really own none of that stuff because you can't account for it. So when it go bad, everything go this way, that way. You know what I'm saying? So
okay. So then, in 1991, you get busted.
Right.
I guess there were 2 informants that were working against you.
Yeah.
Okay, these were guys that you were close to?
Yeah, not really. One guy just did a favor for, you know what I'm saying, and the other guy was pretty close to it. He was like a driver. Yeah, and they turned they turned it for him. And then, the guy that, one of the formers, the guy that played up under him was an informer. So, you know what I'm saying? So it was just like a domino effect. And you know what? I can tell you this here, the case that I got knocked off in for it really wasn't even my case. It was target for another little homeboy of mine. And I wound up stepping into it. Just doing a favor, not really. It wasn't even a case that they was really investigating me.
So tell me about the actual situation where the feds come and arrest you.
Like I said, it wasn't a deal of mine, really, you know what I'm saying? It was just that I was doing a favor for a person and they came in, you know what I'm saying? They put the deal together, whatever, and we really was there I came on the scene and, I wound up getting caught up in it, you know what I'm saying? It really wasn't even my deal or nothing like that. It was the guy who deal it was, you know what I'm saying, that really got caught up. But they had already been watching him and doing things. They already had him. So I wound up getting caught up in something that really wasn't, nothing that I did.
Okay, and how many kilos was this deal?
I think it was like a 5 kilo deal. It wasn't that many, you know what I'm saying, at the time. But that's the danger come with dealing with kilos, because when you start moving weight like that, it can go bad anytime. You know what I'm saying? That's not a safe bet. You know what I mean? To go bad real time. And that's one of the things I really regret, messing around with the weight.
Okay, so you're sitting in on a deal that's not even yours, but you're, somehow part of it.
Right.
The feds bust in and arrest everybody.
Right.
Did you know it was over at that point or not really?
Well, hey, man, I like to think that I'm a smart guy. It don't take, when it's over, it's over. When at that point there, at the same time, you know, you gonna fight. I went to trial, so I fought the case. You know, I appealed the case. I did everything I could. You know what I'm saying? But the biggest thing, you know what I'm saying? I was a man. I did my time. You know what I'm saying? You know.
Okay, so you get busted
Yeah.
during this deal.
Yeah.
You hire a lawyer.
Right.
How much money did you end up spending in legal bills at the end of the day?
At that time now, you know what I'm saying? You know, you hire lawyers, you fire lawyers. You know what I'm saying? I probably had about 100,000 tied up in legal fees. You know what I'm saying? Different things. You know, trying to fight the case, trying to appeal it. You know, you really, you know, when the feds get you, man, it's kind of tough. You know, you kind of like, you really like throwing the money away. You know, unless you got a real rare case. You know, the feds conviction rate is really high. You know, it's really tough. You know, it's really tough to beat them. You know what I mean? You know, I think they got like a 99 point something, so it's real tough to beat them. You know, but
Yeah.
when you have money and you think you could beat them, you know what I'm saying? You spend all that money on lawyers, you know what I'm saying? Thinking you could beat them, and at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? It's a tough slate.
Okay, so here you are. You're going through the whole process, and you're
Right.
hiring lawyers, and
Right.
I'm sure they're offering you deals along the way, right?
Yeah, but then you know, at the same time, you know, I came from a different cloth. I always was told, when I was coming up around all the hustlers and stuff like that, I might have to do a bid, and it might don't be my bid. You know what I'm saying? Because you have, I was young at the time, and then I might have to be, I might have to be the fall guy. I might take a fall, So I was, I've been groomed early. So when that came, I was kind of like, I already know, you know what I'm saying. I was in it for the long haul, you know what I'm saying, because if a guy's a nobody, they really not. But once they found out who I was, they really they really poured it on thick, because they didn't know who I was at first.
Did they offer you a deal? Like, okay, look, like tell us who your plug is, tell us
Yeah,
who everyone else is, and we'll make this go away.
Oh no. The deal they gave me was like trying to give me is like 22 years, to tell, but it wasn't nothing to talk about, you know what I'm saying? Because, I'm cut from a different cloth, you know what I'm saying? That was out of
So
question with me anyway,
yeah, all right. So you turn down the plea deal.
Yeah.
You go to trial. And you
Right.
end up blowing trial.
Blue trial.
How did you feel when the jury came back with guilty?
I was crushed. I was crushed, man. That's one of them. That was most one of the. Because you had a when you go to trial, you got a chance. At least you think you got a chance. You never got a chance with the feds because they already got the car stacked. You know what I'm saying? And they can supersede you. So they, even if you beat this indict, they could come with some more charges and supersede you. So you know what I'm saying? Even if I would beat the charge, they would have came with the money laundry and all kind of stuff in there. I had property and all kind of other stuff and other people's names, so they was threatening to take the people to jail. So I had to wear this one. A lot of people would have went. A lot of people, from my acts could have went. Could have suffered. So I took it like a man that did what I had to do. Went in there, did it. And I was fortunate enough to get back with my sanity. Mind. With my mind, and my sanity. So it's been a great blessing. Now we on the bigger and better things. We're getting ready to do movies and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Clothing lines. So we on a it really it was a blessing in disguise. Because the things that I learned in the feds, there's no way I would have learned out here. And there's no way. You know what I'm saying? I'd have been the strategic businessman of mills today, and been knowing the ins and out of business, and to make deals, how to make deals, and really make money legitimately. I learned all that, what I'm saying, from going to hard knock school, going to the school of hard knocks.
You go to trial and you blow
Yeah.
trial, and the
Right.
jury finds you guilty.
Exactly.
And then the sentencing happens later, right?
Right.
So, you hear the guilty and you're crushed over that,
Right.
and then you hear that you're sentenced for 24 years.
Yeah. Now I was 20. I caught 20. I caught 26 years and 10 months to be exactly.
Okay, and you were how old at the time?
I was 26.
How does a 26-year-old comprehend that For every day you've been alive, you will now have to do a day in prison.
Hey, well, it's not a. You got to man up. You got to man up. I could have went bad, but I didn't come up like that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these guys, all the big names and stuff that, they told. They tell. And then a lot of people, they still give them, props and all that. But once you go bad, you go bad. You could never get that back. And I got morals and dignity and principles, and I'm up under that school level. So it's a different beat. Even Isaac Higgs, he died in prison, and they tried to get him to turn. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, he just come. We come up a little different. You know what I'm saying? He died in prison. And when you come up a certain way, that's the code. That's violating the code when you go the other way.
So you start your bid, and
Right.
you said you were with the most violent criminals in the world.
Oh yeah, because you got to understand now. We ain't talking about like the state of New York or the state of Miami. I'm in Florida. You know what I'm saying? Or somewhere else. You talking about when you talking about the Fed. You talking about the world. Federal government world. You got Russians. You got Chinese. You got the Chinese mob. You got all kind of different. You got the Mexican. You got every different culture criminals in the world in that system. And I was in the penitentiary. I was in McQuarrie, and I was in Terry Hut, and you know what I'm saying. I went to I was in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying. I went to a few penitentiaries, and when you go to them penitentiaries, and in some FCIs, you never know if you're gonna really make it out of there. So it's a really dangerous environment. And you got to really be a man to survive, and a real man. Because any sense of softness or anything like that. You know what I'm saying. They'll take advantage of you.
I mean, what were the most violent things that you had to go through while you were locked up?
Well, I've been in a riot, and I did 2 years on lockdown. I went to 2 years. I was 2 years on lockdown, and had to do a step down program. You know what I'm saying? They were gonna send me they sent me to Terry Hut. I stayed there 2 years locked down. From the crack riot in '95, and Florida and DC got into it one time. You know what I'm saying? And I've been in a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I had a fruit. I stayed in the hole, so I was a rebellious guy in there. So I had a rough bid. You know what I'm saying? And knock on wood that I made it through.
I mean, what was your longest stretch in the hole?
Like 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Because I had 3 years. I did 2 years on lockdown program. You know what I'm saying? And then I did a year on what they call a step down program for violent criminals. Like they monitor you every hour. So I come out. I came out of this 2 year lockdown program. You know what I'm saying? I went to I had to do the step down program. That means that they let you out, but you go back in. You let you out for a couple of hours a day, and you go back in. But every hour they let you out, you got to like for child and different things. They monitor where you go or where you at. You got to let them know. You got to get to an office and let them know that you over here or this or that every hour. Check in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do your time. You do 24 years?
Yeah, 23 and a half. Almost 24. And then I did like 10 months in the halfway house. And all of it's tough. As we speak, I'm still doing time. Cause I had 5 years of supervised release, and I'm down to like 8 months now. So I'm kind of like chopping at it.
So you walk out of prison at what age?
I walked out of prison. I was had to be like 48, 49, something like that.
And what year was this?
Shit, 2014.
Okay, so you go into prison in 1991 and you walk out in 2014.
Right.
To a completely different world.
Right.
Like in 1991, you had like the brick phones.
Right,
and,
right.
like the first big flip phones were coming out. I remember these things.
Right.
And
Well, not even 1991. Yeah. The big flip
Yeah, the
phones.
great phones.
The
Yeah.
ones that you know.
Yeah.
You
The
can really
great
hold
phone,
with your
yeah.
whole hand,
Yeah.
or the transportables in the
Right.
cars.
Right.
You're walking out into iPhones,
Right.
and you didn't have the internet really back then.
Right.
The
Exactly.
World Wide Web wasn't around.
Right.
Computers weren't around.
Exactly.
Like, you're walking into a whole different planet. How did it feel to walk out into this?
Hey man, you got to get with it, because you got to get with it, hey man, this is society now. So you had, I had to adjust and adapt. But the transition really wasn't no problem with me, you know what I'm saying? Because I was so, like, before I got locked up, I was ahead of, I was light years ahead of everything. I was always light years. I was always faster. And so, the transition was really nothing to me. You got a lot of guys that's, have a lot more, problem with making a transition. I stepped straight to it. I stepped straight to it like I never left, for real, seriously. Because I remember one day, I flew in and my son was telling me, say, he picked me up at the airport and telling me, do he think I'm going to find my way through the airport? I said, man, I found him. You know what I'm saying? So he was very surprised about that. But, it was just that, it's just like the first day I got out, it's like I ain't really miss a beat. I got straight to it, like for us, adjusting and adapting to the world,
I remember when I interviewed Lil D from Oakland. Are you familiar with him?
Who?
Lil D from Oakland?
Nah, I'm not familiar.
Lil D was the crack king of Oakland. He did like 30-something years. He actually got clemency by Obama.
Yeah, that's right.
Got a few years taken out. And I remember I asked him, I said, what was the biggest adjustment after you get out after 30 years? He said the biggest thing was people would be walking around on their cell phones and they'd bump into each other and not say nothing and just keep walking. Whereas in prison, you bump into someone, you have to be very polite.
Yeah,
not considerate, or else that might be your last day on earth.
Man, when I got to that airport and seen all these people moving around on these cell phones, if you'd have seen the expression on my face, I was in another world, man. Like I was, the look that was on me was like a person that you just let out of a cave. I mean, that's how long I had been gone. Like when I seen all these people on their phones with their head down texting and bumping into each other, man, it freaked me out, man. Because it was these people was moving so fast, right? And then in prison, you got to be kind, man. You got to say, excuse me, if you bump into somebody, man. You got to say, excuse me. You gotta, because it's a respect thing. So when I seen you people bumping into each other with their head down and whatnot, it freaked me out. And I'm like, man, this is crazy.
Right, he's exactly right. But that's what I was trying to explain to you. It's a whole different level of respect out here. These, like a lot of these rappers that's in position, they got bad schooling. A lot of them don't even know how. They don't do the honorable thing. They don't know how to respect the ones who set the path for them, you know what I mean? And laid the foundation. They don't even respect it. So, it's a whole, and then back in the days, they would have had to been dealt with, so, it's just things, and in some places now, they still have to be dealt with. But, it's just different, man. This whole game, this whole, is just different. But like you said, if you bump into somebody and not say nothing, or step on somebody and not say nothing, that could be your last day. And, he coming from a different perspective of life, that being in there, in prison, especially violent prison, you know what I'm saying? They really big on respect. Like I was in Terry Hut when Mabay was there. Terry Mabay, who did the Oklahoma bump. And when I was in Terry Hut, you know what I'm saying? That's where I was in lockdown. With Mabay, what was Mabay? Was there?
Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah, him. Okay, when he was there, you know what I'm saying? And I was there with they had some of most violent crimes in the world there, and you could feel the tension through the air. That's how much it was. You could feel the tension, death through the air. You could feel it any minute. You know what I'm saying? Real dangerous spot. You know what I'm saying? Larry Hoover was there at the time, and I remember when I was on lockdown, I was on a 2-year. I'm gonna show you how real people recognize real people. I was on lockdown, so. When I got when I got on the step down program, Larry Hoover, it was in the back, so we pushed the food back there, to the part where they had, because they was he had just came in from the state. And the first time he see me, he spoke. You know what I'm saying? He that just show you how real recognize real all over the world.
Well, I remember when I interviewed Freeway Ricky.
Yeah.
And when he went in, he had all types of property in other
Right.
people's names.
Right.
He had money in other people's names.
Right.
And, he got life in prison.
Right.
But he ended up beating it.
Right.
And he came out and he said everything that I'd put aside with people I trusted, people I took care of, my family members,
gone.
All of it was gone. So all these people that are getting locked up who think that their relatives and their homies are going to hold on to that $500,000 in cash and that property and those cars
and
when you come out.
And when you doing it, you're thinking like you're going to accumulate this stuff, and when you come home, you'll have that.
Yeah, but when you came out, you had nothing.
Nothing.
So all this stuff that people were holding was all gone.
Zero. That's what my next book is about. When I got out, what I had, how I had to start over.
Right.
The
So
book
you
is
walked
called-
away, you came in a multimillionaire and walked out
Zip.
dead broke.
No motels, no apartment buildings, no tennis pros. All the things that I thought would hold together, and the people who were able to keep the property became theirs. In their minds, it was their property.
And they weren't trying to give it back to you.
No.
But that's how that go. That's what I was explaining to you earlier. That's just how that go. That's the nature of the beast. That's how that game go. Because when you getting that type of money, you can't vouch for everything. You can't vouch for it. So therefore you have to take chances with other people. And they be laying, trust me. Family members and all. A lot of them, they be laying on something to go bad or go wrong because they know it's theirs. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I got an older brother, man. You know what I'm saying? That did me dirty, and right now today he act like I did him dirty, and he took. You know what I'm saying? So it just, hey man, it's crazy, man. And then not only that, I never had an argument with this dude. I never, we don't even, it's just certain things that you definitely never understand how people could think, and that's what I was trying to explain to you about the times I got shot. I never got shot for something I did in the street. Never. Every time I ever got shot is from a hate crime, or it's from somebody hating on me, or having animosity about women. Because I used to, I love women. I always had a lot. Back in then I had a lot of women then. So so beef come from all that kind of stuff there. And that's what I'm saying. When that happened, everything, you lose everything, man. And that's just the nature of the beast. But I could say this here: if you ever experience that, you can't get out here mad with the world. You know what I'm saying? You got to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And move forward. You know what I'm saying? And figure out. You know what I'm saying? How can I do? How can I get back to where I'm trying to go legitimately? You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're working on now.
Well, I remember when I interviewed Freeway Ricky.
Yeah.
Right. He said, and his own plug, Blandone, ended up testifying against him.
Right.
He was working with the CIA.
Right.
And he was doing it. I mean, he was at a high level. The whole Iran-Contra thing, that was through Freeway Ricky.
Right.
So, when he first got locked up, he was angry.
Right.
Like most people are.
Right.
But then he had an epiphany where he realized that snitching is part of the drug game.
See, the way I look at it is, first of all, I made the mistake of getting in the drug business. That was my first mistake.
Mm-hmm.
My next mistake was I went back into the drug business after I said I quit.
Yeah.
So what he did is he only did what people do in the drug business. They tell. They set you up. And for somebody to go into the drug business and not understand that, which I was in the drug business and didn't understand it, but I came to grips with it.
Oh yeah, hey, without a doubt. Even with the mafia, way back then, you had rats. You know what I'm saying? Informers, CIs, you know what I'm saying? And that's how they was able to penetrate the mafia. They were one of the most first organized crime in the world. but that's how they was able to penetrate their organization. You know what I'm saying? They outfits, because you know you're gonna always have that. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that's what's so dangerous about that game now. You just never know who is who. You never know who is who. You know what I mean? And with the technology we have today, oh man, forget about it.
Well, yeah, and he said that once he realized that snitching is part of the drug game,
Yeah.
then he knew that that's why he should have never gotten to the drug game.
Right.
Like if you get into the drug game and think that no one's ever going to tell on you, you're just fooling yourself.
Yeah, yeah. But you know that's a part of the game. You know, you got to understand in life, you got all kind of walks. You got all kind. It takes all kind of walks of life to make to make up the human. You know what I'm saying? Society, man. So you got all walks of life to make up the world, and you're gonna always have that. You know what I mean? You know, they whistleblowers. Even in Fortune 500, they call them whistleblowers. You're gonna have that. You know what I mean? But you have to be very, very careful, because you know you just never know. You know who is who if you're playing that game.
You didn't tell on anybody, but 2 people told on you.
Yeah, really, you know, they had more than that. You know, they had people waiting to come to court and everything. You know, they had, you know, a whole lot of people told on me. A guy was on the bus with me talking about, I said I was going to hit the FBI. I said I was going to put the hits on the FBI. They used that in court. Everything they could use to assassinate my character, they used. This old guy never know. Just, he going courtroom to courtroom to testify on different guys. And they letting him in with that boat, but that's how they work. They stack the cards on you, man. You ain't. It's almost impossible to win, because they gonna build a character. You know what I'm saying? And when they build a character on you, you know what I'm saying? They gonna paint a character on you that you did all this, even if you didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? You know how many people that's innocent never know about the activity that go around or that's happening, that a family member, a grandma, a auntie, a mom, that get caught up in the conspiracy and they really don't know, but the son or whoever it may be, you know what I'm saying, they don't turn over who they supposed to turn over, and they wind up going to get the family members to make them turn. So you know what I'm saying. So you know, look at Ray out of DC. You know, they really grabbed his mother. You know, and so when he get to telling or whatever he do, you know what I'm saying, he trying to free his mother. You know what I mean? So you know,
right?
Yeah. So you know, that's what I'm saying. You know, it's a dirty game, man. You know, and the mob said it best, man. The drug game is a dirty game, and if you notice, early on the mob, you know what I'm saying, before they got, you know, they really tried to stay away from that because it brings us a lot of problems.
Yeah, you're talking about Rayful Edmond.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were gonna lock up his mother, and
they locked up his mother.
They locked up his mother, right?
Right. You know, and and then things got, yeah, they locked up his mother. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. You know, a lot of times, your mother might, it's a mother's nature to protect a kid, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? To protect their kids. So, they go grab grandmoms and. I remember one time I was locked up with a guy, and he had a next door neighbor, and he used their phone or something. You know, he used the phone, and they went and got them. You know what I'm saying? Just for using the phone. You know what I'm saying? Took their house, their property, and all. So you just got to be real careful with that, man.
Well, yeah, I remember early 2000s, BMF flew me out,
right,
to hang out with them, and I got to go hang out at Big Meech's house, with all those guys,
right,
and they went and scooped all them up,
yeah,
and Big Meech, they didn't catch him with anything, but they had a bunch of witnesses that were ready to line up against him,
right,
and get him on conspiracy and kingpin charges, which is why he took that. I think he took like a 25-year plea deal or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I was locked up, man. Big Meech was in and it's true story. Me and Big Meech was in Jessup, Georgia together. They shipped me up out of there on an investigation, and when I went to Oklahoma, a transit spot where where you go through when they shoot you different places, it's a spot where they stop at the feds stop at, and when they shoot you a spot, it's a plane where they fruel up and all that stuff there. But anyway, guy was there was part of BMF, and I told I told I said, man, tell Ray, I said, tell Big Meech that they gonna grab him. They told me, we gonna fall like Vlad. They got me out of there. They gonna get him there. And he texted him because that's what the text just came through. He texted him, and when he texted him, you know what I mean. 2 weeks later, they got him out of there in the spot we in. But Big Meech, a lot of that swag Big Meech got, he'll tell you. We was on the same yard. He told guys, yeah, a lot of that, Convertible Burt. Because I was, I was a young age, man. I was at Atlantic City. I think I seen Big Meech and his brother at Atlantic City. The Spinks, this Leon Spinks and Tyson fight. So you know what I'm saying. I was up then. He was up and coming, and I was already up, and I was I was real young. You know what I'm saying. And back then, like I said, you know what I'm saying, I was the first one that had Rolls Royce and all that. He looked at that and, took that to another level. Before he ever went to Atlanta, I had that. You know what I'm saying? I already laid that, that foundation down. You know what I'm saying? And took it to another level.
After you get out,
yeah,
and now your kids, your son who was 5 years old when you went in is now 30 years old.
Yeah,
and,
37 years old, yeah.
Your kids now have kids of their own.
Right.
You're now a grandfather.
Right.
When you look at Liberty City and you look at these other communities that you were pushing cocaine through,
right,
and you see the destruction, the mothers hooked on crack, the crack babies being born,
right,
and you think that you're partly responsible for some of that. Does that bother you at all, or were you just a business person?
Yeah, you got as a businessman, you got to always, but you got to always look at it from the business perspective. But like now, you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to get things to right my wrongs. I've always been the kind of person that help people. But the crack epidemic kind of like passed by now. They on other drugs now, so that that epidemic don't win and came, and you still got people that. Pretty much might be, what I'm saying, part of, still on that. But, man, they got so much different drugs now. Them people not even, that academic don't pass, man, almost. I would like to think, but you got, like I said, you always have spots that's 20, 30 years behind time. So, that it take a little while to catch on. But pretty much down here, in Miami, that crack academic probably, pretty much don't pass. They on other stuff now. Psychedelic drugs, there other stuff now.
Right, the opioid epidemic.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, that's a whole nother twist. So, that. Yeah.
A lot of kids that are going to be watching this,
right,
are going to look at Convertible Burt and say, "Well, I'm going to be the next Convertible Burt, and I'm not going to make the mistakes that he made. I'm going to make sure that I don't have any snitches around me, and I'm going to move differently.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make sure I never get arrested. And
right.
I'm gonna move 500 kilos and walk away from it.
Yeah.
And go off to an island somewhere and retire.
Right.
Well, what would you tell a kid that says that?
I would tell a kid, you know what I'm saying, that game now is it's real tough. It's a real hard task, and I would tell a person or kid the same energy that they would put into doing something negative like selling drugs or trying to be like me. I'm a businessman. I'm a world-class money-making businessman now. Follow my lead. I'm getting ready to do movies. I'm getting ready to do music. I'm getting ready to sell, clothing, sell clothing and merchandise and different things like that. The same energy that you put into doing something negative, you could put into something positive and get 1,000,000 times more and have 1,000,000 times more legit, And with the media, social media in there, you could get there quicker. You know what I'm saying? With the social media there, So I would advise a kid, if they're gonna follow me, follow the positives of me now. I'm a businessman. I'm trying to broker movie deals. I'm trying to sell Ciroc. I'm trying to sell champagne. I'm trying to sell, sodas, Coca-Colas, or I'm trying to brand myself in the market where I make millions and millions of dollars doing something legit, like selling beverages, you know what I'm saying? Making a Coca-Cola commercial, making a Pepsi commercial, doing Miller Lite, doing a Corona, a Bud Light, you know what I'm saying? A Hennessy, anything like could generate capital. You want to get with these Fortune 500 companies and put your, and right now you got to be strategically brilliant out here when it comes to business. So you really wanna with all the Netflix deals, the YouTube deals, you don't have to do what I did. You know what I'm saying? It's you got all these different avenues, and it's easy to make millions. You got kids living in mansions and driving big and doing all this here off of YouTube.
We talked about how you had a 5-year run.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So for every year that you were balling out and riding around in Rolls Royces and
Yeah.
having $1 million in jewelry,
Yeah.
you had to spend 5 years in a cage.
Right.
Do you feel that it was worth it, or did you wish that you would gone back and just not gone the illegal route at all?
Really, to be honest with you, you know what I'm saying? You got to understand we all have, God, give us all different journeys. You know what I'm saying? And if I had to do all that, I would have went to college. And if I had to do all that, I would have went to college with my scholarship and majored in business administration and art. You know what I'm saying? And I'd have did it a different way because, at the end of the day, I lost. What really hurt me, I lost my mom when I was, away, and my father. So you never get a chance to tell them how much you love them and stuff like that. And I lost, my kids, raising them up. You know what I'm saying? I got another daughter in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? That I don't have a really good relationship with because she feels some kind of way because she figure like, I'm a street guy or whatever, you know what I mean? She don't really understand that I'm on a whole different level, you know what I'm saying, now on business and other things. And when you leave a kid for that longer time, they feel some type of way in their heart. So, that hurt me the most. So I definitely wouldn't have did it. Because it's like, that's what hurt me the most, for when you get out, you know what I'm saying, how you have to really rebuild your relationship with the kids and they grown, you know what I'm saying, but they still have some, I can't say animosity, but they still have a thing in their heart and their mind about, like you left them, you know what I'm saying, you wasn't there for them, so that really does something to me. So that's why I would tell a kid that's trying to follow my footsteps to do it the right way. Follow my footsteps now, because I'm doing it the right way. I'm in the business. I'm in a legitimate business, making deals, matching buyers with sellers. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm doing too now. You know what I'm saying? Doing movies and music and different things like that, merchandise and certain things like that, legitimately.
Well, Convertible Burt,
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate you telling your story. And the reason why we do these types of interviews is to really illustrate to people that, like, yeah, you can ball out for a few years.
Right.
You can get all this stuff.
Right.
You could do it. Most people
Right.
could probably do it for a few years.
Right.
But the amount of loss that you take
Right.
as a cost to that,
Right.
everyone I've interviewed told me it's not worth it. Well, Convertible Burt, man,
Yeah.
I really appreciate you telling your story.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have heard the myth
Yeah.
of Convertible Burt, but to actually lay it out in detail
Yeah.
and show the wins along with the losses, which are
Right.
significant,
Right.
is very important to the next generation of people that
Right.
are going to be influenced by you and are going to try to follow in your footsteps. And
Right.
maybe we could, by having you explain your story, they might rethink it and say, something, I think I might just go legit instead. That seems
Yeah.
like a better way for me to do it.
Yeah. But really, that is the better way to do it. It's no hands down, that's the better way. Because you got all these Fortune, like I was saying, you got all these Fortune 500 companies, and it's all about, all business is demand. It's about mixing buyers with sellers. So you got to use your brain, you know what I mean? And make a deal. You know what I mean? And it's no different. It's a hustle, it's a hustle. If you sell cars, it's a hustle. If you sell houses, it's a hustle. If you go to McDonald's every day, it's a hustle. You know what I'm saying? So don't let that street mentality hustle thing, you know what I'm saying, block your blessings, because there's so many different ways you can make millions of dollars out here legitimate today.
That's what it is, Convertible Burt.
Yeah, the world
Appreciate
famous.
you, sharing your story. Wish
Yeah.
you all the success in the world.
Yeah, thank you, brother, for having me.
No doubt. Until next time.
All right,
Peace.
love. Peace.